The night the old piano cried, no one expected the building to remember him forever. The lobby lights were dim, the marble floors still carried the footprints of executives who had long gone home, and the silence felt heavy enough to bend time itself. In that silence stood Daniel Harper, a single father, a janitor with tired eyes and cracked hands, holding a mop like it was the last thing anchoring him to the world. What happened next would shake a billionaire CEO, awaken a forgotten dream, and remind everyone that greatness often hides where no one bothers to look. Before the story pulls you deeper, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet magic of human potential, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that need them. Daniel Harper had not planned to stay late that night. His daughter, Lily, was home with a neighbor, probably already asleep with her stuffed rabbit tucked under her chin, waiting for her father's familiar footsteps. But overtime paid a little extra, and extra meant groceries, school supplies, and maybe someday a better apartment where the heat didn't cut out in winter. Daniel's life had shrunk into careful calculations after his wife passed away 3 years earlier, leaving him with grief, responsibility, and a promise he made at a hospital bedside to never let their daughter feel alone. Once, long ago, Daniel had dreamed big. Once, music had been his language, his refuge, his future. Now, it was something he carried quietly, like an old photograph folded too many times. The building where Daniel worked was the headquarters of Ardent Systems, a glass and steel monument to ambition. The crown jewel of its lobby was a custom-made concert grand piano worth more than Daniel would earn in a decade, placed there as a symbol of culture and success. Executives bragged about it to investors, but no one ever played it. It sat pristine, polished daily by Daniel himself, its keys untouched, its voice locked away. Every night, as Daniel wiped fingerprints from its glossy surface, his fingers would linger just a moment longer than necessary, remembering a time when those same fingers flew across keys in small recital halls and dusty practice rooms. That night, exhaustion pressed heavier than usual. The mop bucket sloshed quietly as Daniel worked, the echo of his movements bouncing off high ceilings. Without fully realizing why, he sat down on the piano bench. It felt forbidden and foolish, like stepping into a life he no longer owned. His hands hovered above the keys, trembling not from fear, but from memory. He thought of Lily humming softly before sleep, struggling with her homework, asking questions about a mother she barely remembered. He thought of everything he'd lost, and everything he still carried. His fingers pressed down, gently at first, then with growing certainty. The melody was simple, almost childlike, something Lily loved and asked for often. Twinkle Twinkle Little Star flowed into the empty lobby, but not as a nursery rhyme. It became something deeper, richer, filled with longing and warmth. Daniel poured years of grief, love, and unspoken hope into each note. The piano answered him like an old friend, its sound filling the space with a kind of fragile beauty that made the air feel alive. Unbeknownst to Daniel, someone had stopped walking. William Cross, the CEO of Ardent Systems, had returned to the office unexpectedly after a late dinner with investors. He was a man accustomed to control, to numbers, to sharp decisions that moved markets. Music, to him, had always been decoration, a luxury accessory. But as he stepped into the lobby and heard the piano, something inside him stilled. He knew that instrument. He knew what it cost. He also knew that no one on his executive team could play like that. The sound wasn't polished for performance, it was honest, almost raw, and it reached places William had long sealed off. William stood in the shadows, listening. The melody grew, transformed, carrying echoes of classical technique woven into a simple tune. This was not a janitor idly pressing keys. This was mastery restrained by humility. William felt a tightness in his chest he hadn't felt since childhood, since his own mother used to play piano in a small apartment before ambition replaced tenderness. For the first time in years, he forgot about profits, deadlines, and image. He was just a man listening to another man tell his story without words. Daniel finished the piece and sat still, breathing shallowly, as if afraid the moment would shatter if he moved. Reality rushed back all at once. He stood up quickly, returning the bench to its place, grabbing his mop with a familiar sense of shame for indulging in something that no longer belonged to him. He didn't see William step forward into the light. William Cross looked at Daniel not with anger, but with disbelief and something dangerously close to awe. The sight of the janitor uniform clashed violently with what his ears had just experienced. Daniel's eyes dropped to the floor, expecting reprimand, maybe termination. His life felt like it balanced on a thread in that second. Instead, something shifted. William didn't see a janitor anymore. He saw a man who had buried a gift under responsibility and loss. Over the following days, questions were asked, files quietly checked, and truths uncovered. Daniel Harper was not just maintenance staff. He was a former conservatory student who dropped out after tragedy struck, who worked nights and weekends to raise a child alone. Word spread through the building like electricity. People who had passed Daniel every day without noticing suddenly saw him differently. Daniel was invited to play again, this time not in secret. At first, fear nearly stopped him. Standing in front of people meant exposing the part of himself he'd locked away to survive. But Lily sat in the front row during his first small recital in the lobby, her eyes wide with pride, her small hands clapping harder than anyone else's. That was enough. Opportunities followed slowly, respectfully. Not miracles, but chances. Lessons resumed. A flexible schedule replaced endless overtime. A scholarship fund was created in Daniel's name for employees with hidden talents and dreams deferred. The piano in the lobby was no longer silent. It became a meeting place, a reminder that value isn't always measured by titles or salaries. William Cross found himself changed too. He began leaving work earlier some evenings, attending performances, listening more than he spoke. The building felt warmer, more human. Investors noticed, but not in the way they expected. Productivity rose, not from pressure, but from purpose. Daniel's life did not suddenly become perfect. Bills still came. Mornings were still rushed. But music returned to his home, filling their small apartment with sound and laughter. Lily started piano lessons, her fingers clumsy but eager, her future wide open. Daniel no longer felt invisible. He felt seen, not as a miracle, but as a man whose worth had always been there. Just before this story ends, please comment below and tell us what part of Daniel's journey moved you the most, or share a moment when someone believed in you when you least expected it. Years later, on a quiet evening, Daniel would again play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, this time on a different stage, with Lily watching from the wings, older now, understanding what that song had carried through the darkest nights. The notes drifted upward, soft and steady, reminding everyone listening that sometimes the smallest melodies reveal the biggest truths. And if this story touched your heart, if it reminded you to look twice at the people around you, to believe that no dream truly dies, please like this video, share it, and stay connected with the channel. Your engagement helps keep stories like this alive, reaching hearts that are still waiting to be heard.